Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. So I caved. I had already said in maybe a previous video of mine that I was a little disappointed to see that they didn't actually have the animals on these palettes this year, and I still stand by that. I think they should have continued with the animals. But that's me. I love animals so very much, and I love to see them on very luxe packaging like the ones in the past that Hourglass has had. However, I ended up purchasing the one with the evil eye. Now this isn't customized, this is the way it came. So this particular palette is made more so, I think, with medium skin tones in mind. However, I, in the past, have been able to make every single one of these palettes work for me. Even the one that is targeted for deeper skin tones, I can still make them work for me. It's no different with this one. I wore this yesterday. I just actually got it in the mail like 2 days ago, and I wore it yesterday. I can easily make it work. Even the setting powder is not too deep for me. So what I want to do is I'm going to be comparing this to last year and the year prior, the palettes that were made for the medium skin tones in those years. Now, if you bought them the way they came, the first year they did these palettes, it would be the elephant, and then last year's was the leopard. To see how, I just wish they had continued with the animal theme. I was hoping eventually they would have done one with a deer, my babies, but they did not. So I'm going to be comparing this one to those palettes. Of course, I'm going to have swatches for you. I will be inserting that clip next, and then of course I'm going to be showing me applying all of these products. I think I might just mix all three blushes and apply them today so you can see all three of them mixed together. So let's go ahead and get into the swatches first. Alright, I'm going to zoom you in a little bit more, and you can't see it, but I'm actually wearing a little necklace that's actually the evil eye, like this, so I thought that was pretty fitting. Now, I will quickly go over what's on the rest of my face, just right quick. Of course, everything will be listed for you below, but on my eyes, I'm wearing the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. I just used the shade Mellow all over the lid and in the crease, and then I took a mixture of Ripe and Soft Spot. I dipped once each, put that on the outer corner, and then I used the shade Homey, just a very slight dusting of that all over the lid, and then I took the shade Pep and used that as liner on the upper lash line there. And for my foundation, I'm wearing the Patrick Ta foundation. Everything else that well, actually everything that I'm using today is in my everyday makeup drawer, aside of course from the Hourglass palette, but all of this will be linked for you below. And then of course I'm also using the e.l.f. Cream Glide lip liner, and this one is in the shade Pinky Swear, and then I'm wearing Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury on the lips. I wanted to go a little bit pinky with the lip because I am wearing this pretty pink sweater. Now for the application of this, I am going to be using this brush right here from Say Beauty. This is their fluffy powder brush, and one reason I'm doing that is because this is the perfect size, as you can see, for each of these pans. I used this brush yesterday for every single step, and I'm just wiping it off in between each step just to make sure there's no more product on it. But it's the perfect size. My Refi brush might would fit, but it's quite larger, so I find that this brush is a perfect size for this palette. I'm not saying you need this brush at all. This is just something I already owned, and it's a perfect size, but definitely I'm sure you have a brush in your collection that is just perfect. But if you were interested in the Say brushes, they're nice. They're like weighted. They feel very heavy in the hand. They're very nice brushes. Alright, let me make sure that I don't have any creases under my eyes, because it's been a little bit since I've done my foundation and concealer, because I did all that first and then did swatches. I will say though that Kosas concealer doesn't really crease that badly at all. I'm very impressed by that concealer. So we're going to go in with the setting powder in this palette, which is the finishing powder in Soft Light. I believe 4 or 5 shades in each of these palettes are new. I might be wrong about that. Definitely look into that. Do your research, because if you're going to be paying all that money for these palettes, you know, definitely look into that. So I'm just going to set my T-zone first, and I am going to use this powder the same way I did yesterday, which I just took it all over my face, but I want to set my under eyes first. And you know, this, you can see the unset versus set. You can still see where there is going to be some glow. I find that Hourglass products just have that beautiful glow to them, which I don't mind that at all. I like beautiful glowy skin. I'm not a matte girl. I do like to be slightly mattified in the T-zone, but I mean, if I'm not going to be upset about it. But I do understand that the glowy skin is not for everybody, especially if you have oily skin already. I have combo skin, but it's not, the oils that come through on my T-zone, it's not like, you know, hard to manage. It's there, but it's not extreme. So I just find this brush just is perfect for these size pans. These powders in these palettes, they're always so lovely. I've never been disappointed with any of them. I've never purchased a full size of these products from Hourglass because I have all of these palettes, which I do want to mention that if you were to buy 6 of these individuals, like the mini sizes, I believe you'd have $180 in it. So you are saving, but then you also have to look at it as, will I use every single shade that they're including in a palette? Because if not, you know, of course it might not be worth it to you. You just have to go by your own preference. And I'm just going to take a light dusting of that and just kind of go all over the rest of my face. I did this yesterday and it just looks so beautiful. These powders are just so lovely. Like, they're beautiful powders. And you still see the glow, which I love that. I'm just going to set the rest of my face and then we're going to move on. I am going to apply the highlighter today. Even though I'm not a highlighter person, I am going to apply that, of course. I want to use all 6 shades. So I'm just going to mix the blushes. Yesterday, I only wore this blush right here and it was beautiful. Okay, now this is the highlighter in the palette, but now yesterday I used this. Even though this shade is actually supposed to be a blush, to me that shade looked more like a highlighter, but now I'm just going to dip once into that top shade, which is in the shade Rose Gold Strobolite. Now, I like to apply highlighter before I go in with blush. Now, I'm only going to dip in once to that. Because like I said, I'm not a highlighter person. And I'm gonna kind of apply it where I would the blush, because this does have, if you can see, because this is made more so for medium skin tones in mind, like maybe light medium, it is going to leave a little bit of something on my cheek. I don't find it to be obnoxious. Maybe it would be if you go in with a strong amount of it, but now I'm just lightly dusting that on, so I don't see anything wrong with it. And it looks beautiful. Honestly, I could probably wear that as a blush. Like if I build it up just a little bit more, but I want to go in with the blushes today, but you could probably use that as a really beautiful blush if you're like maybe my skin tone. I think this is the only way I'd actually be okay with wearing highlighter, is if it's in a palette like these from Hourglass. I just don't want to buy like single highlighters. They're just not for me. Yeah, honestly, you can make that probably look like a blush. You go in with more. And I'm just wiping my brush off on a towel right here in between each step because I only have this brush. Now let's see. Alright, we're going to go in with the bronzer, which is, this is in Natural Bronze. We're going to sweep that on here. I only picked up a small amount of it. I don't want to go overboard. I'd rather build up than apply too much at one time, for sure. I'm not sure how much is showing up on camera because I know I do have a ring light on. It's on the lowest setting, but it still can probably wash my face out a little bit. So I am, in person, that's like the perfect level of bronzer that I would want. Just a little bit. Just to add a touch of something. I'm gonna tell you, I get pulled into buying these palettes every year, or at least one. Now, I've bought all the animals in the past because, well, I like the animals. I look at these palettes almost like collectors kind of thing. I do use them, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think because the packaging is just so beautiful that I do consider them kind of like collector's pieces, and that's why I look forward to them every year. I know that this year they released, what, 2 palettes a little bit earlier in the year. See, they didn't draw me in because they were just their plain regular packaging. These palettes, though, during the holidays, especially if they have the animals, they can pull me in. Now, I will say I almost didn't purchase one this year, but I caved. Okay, now what I'm going to do is in each of the blushes, I'm going to dip like 1, 2, 3, just once each. And let's see, the blushes, this blush is Pink Fusion, this is Oasis Glow, and this is Vibrant Coral. So I'm just going to dip 1, 2, 3. I only used one yesterday, but I just want to see what these look like mixed. That's usually how I wear these palettes anyway. Oh, pretty. Or this is the way I usually wear these palettes whenever I use them. I always just mix the 3 blushes, or however many blushes are in the palette. I just mix them all together and create one beautiful shade. And you can see that shade, which was Oasis Glow, it does have kind of like a highlighter in it, so it adds even more glow. Okay, I'm going to wipe off that brush. I want to start, even though I'm going in with the same blushes, I want to make sure that brush is clean. I don't want to over apply. Because you can see that was 1, 2, 3. I just tap once in each shade, and that is plenty. I will say that I'm never disappointed with these palettes when I apply them. I have never at one point used any of them and felt like I wasted my money. I've never felt that way personally. I know everybody is different when it comes to these palettes, and if you have an extensive collection already of Hourglass, like the individual pans, then you know these might not really mean that much to you. I know there are supposed to be new shades, a lot more new shades in these palettes, so you know it's definitely subjective. Now, I don't own any individual like full-size Hourglass products. The only thing I even own from Hourglass are these palettes. So I've never felt the need to buy a full size or anything. Oh, that's so pretty. I feel like there's a little bit more over here, so I'm going to tap in one of the shades a little bit just to kind of see if I can build it up right out here. Just to kind of make it match that side a little bit. I might have tapped a little bit more aggressively over here, but I'm going to try to match it as close as possible. The one I tapped in extra is the shade Pink Fusion, by the way. They're beautiful mixed together. Like, ooh, beautiful. Alright, I'm just going back in with the setting powder and just kind of working around that a little bit, just a touch. Like I said, these are not gonna mattify or anything, but I just kind of wanted to blend that blush a little bit more in here. So that's all 6 shades applied. Stunning. I don't regret my purchase this year at all. I don't regret it whatsoever. I never do, though, with these palettes. I always am happy that I picked up at least one of them, and now, will I end up purchasing the Dragon or the Lotus? Right now, the answer would be no. I know that there's always the chance that I'm going to see them in store because the Ulta near me claims to have them in store. I know there's always a chance that I might see them in person and change my mind, but just off what I'm seeing online, I'm fine with just this one. I feel like this still works beautifully for my skin tone, even though this one I think is marketed more towards like light to medium skin tones. I find that it works for me. It's beautiful. No complaints whatsoever when it comes to these palettes. I think they're beautiful every year personally, and the artwork just adds to them. Like if you're a fan of the artwork, I don't know. I consider them beautiful collector's pieces. Now, would I tell somebody to buy a $90 base palette? No, no. It kind of comes down to you and your preferences and your own personal budget, whether you're on a no buy or a low buy. It's one of those things that it would be up to you. Now, I don't regret my purchase of this. But now someone else might get these palettes and they don't like the shades. So I mean, it's, you know, it's just personal preference. I would never want to push one of these palettes on somebody like, yeah, you need this. No, no, no. And if you have palettes from years prior, more than likely they're going to look similar enough that you might feel like you don't even need this year's. I think the only thing that would maybe be a selling point for you is if you love the packaging on one of them so much. I did remember seeing a comment of somebody saying that they wish that they just sold the empty palettes. Like just the artwork by themselves, and then I guess you can customize like your own, like pick your own shades for the palette. I think that would be neat. And I really believe that they would probably sell those even more so than they do these if they let you actually pick the shades you want. But all in all, I'm happy with my purchase. I'm glad I picked up the palette. So I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads. Follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly, and all of these products will be listed and linked for you below. They are affiliate links, so if you click through and purchase, I do earn a small commission at no extra charge to you. And if you choose to do so, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!